okay, to bring it back, here's the hot take. I actually think this NiP lineup is a complete waste of everyone involved's time. Everyone. NiP and all 5 players, it's a waste of their fucking time. Because here's what sucks about it. I don't think in Counter-Strike or sports in general, you ever want to be like well-rounded but not excellent at any one thing. That is a recipe for disaster. I mean, you'll know this. I mean, we do our basketball show, Maui. I actually consider the worst position in basketball to be teams that are good enough to make the playoffs but do nothing in the playoffs. That is purgatory right there. Because on the one hand, because you make the playoffs, you can convince yourself, hey, if it goes awesome and, we just improve a bit, then we win. But you won't win the championship. But because you made the playoffs, you won't make the hard decisions. You won't blow it up. You won't reset. And so famously in the NBA, I mean, this is what teams like the DeMaros and Raptors were like. It's a nightmare. You're always going to just be going like this far but not winning, and then like never bad enough to fully drop out. And you'll just basically waste extra time with the lineup. So if you look at this lineup, right, they don't have anything that makes them the best. If I look at their IGL's a bit sus, but not the worst. Hampers. If I look at their AWP's an improving player. Headtrick, but he's not world class. If you look who their best rifle star is, I mean, mate, fucking Sophie's choice on that one. Pick who you want. Is it Rez? Is it Config? Is it Bro? It doesn't matter. None of them are Nico or fucking Axel or Quesarata. So when you look at the team, it's like, bro, what do we have? Essentially, we've got like a team where the floor of the team is okay. It's why this team can every now and then trip over and beat a top team. But like, if you had to bet, you know, if there was a concept like the stock market, if you could, you can bet on teams to win the event. I wish we could just short teams and bet against them. Bro, I would make so much money. All I would do every event on this team is they don't make semis. There you go. I win again. I win again. I win again. As long as the odds weren't mental, I would bet on that every tournament. Because this team looks like I say, the problem is it isn't bad enough to totally blow it up, but I think you need to blow it up. Like, to me, I'll go even one further. I've said this ever since they made this lineup, especially now they don't have Alexi B, so I don't have some angle where the IGL could do something brilliant. Hampus is just an okay IGL. You cannot have all 3 of these players at once, Config, Brolan and Rez. Pick 2. They're the same fucking player. They're the same player, essentially. Like, the strength and the role that they should be doing, they're essentially all sort of in the same wheelhouse. And at the moment, it's like, bro, you got to get rid of at least one of these players. Like, but that's why I say it's a waste of time. I actually think this team is just going to be going through the motions. All they will do is what they've done so far. They will go to tournaments. One tournament, they'll come 9th. One tournament, they'll come 5th to 6th. That's it. They're not going to win anything. They're probably not going to bomb and come last place, sure. But I actually think it's a waste of everyone's time. And the worst thing is, like I say, this is so rare if you think about this. Normally, there's someone benefits from being in a shit team, for stealing a check. I actually think every player could be better in a different team. I think they're all wasting their fucking time being in this one squad. Like I say, what strength does this team have? It's not that weak, but what strength does it have? I don't think they have anything, personally.
The thing is, like, I agree with you 100% when you're like analogy with other teams, I guess, when you say like, we're reaching the playoffs and then maybe if we like work a little bit more, maybe we can. No, you can't, because this is the ceiling for you. Like, that's the ceiling. Sometimes getting into the playoffs, like NiP, that's the ceiling for this lineup. Looking at the lineup, that is it. This lineup is not a championship lineup. Never going to be. It isn't now. The reason why I'm saying this is because I had the same curse. I was in the same curse. When we played, we reached the semis. Yes, we reached the finals.
You mean Renegades
yes.
now, yeah?
Yes, Renegades, 100 Thieves. Yeah, we reached the semis. We reached the finals, but that wasn't it. That was punching above our weight. Let's be honest. We were punching above our weight. Considering the players that we had, the skill that we had.
Yes.
We were punching way, way above our weight. I don't know how or what, but we had a good team chemistry. Whatever happened, it worked. And we were like, placed higher than we should normally be. And this is where I understood the things that you were saying right now. I understood it back then. I said it. Like, we need to move away from Gratisfaction. We need to move away from Lias in order to get to the next step and start getting into the more finals and maybe titles. But I wasn't listened to, and, it turned out the way it turned out. So NiP and other teams are in the same spot like them and us. Mouse, for example, right? And yes, they have a young team. Liquid is another team that has some players, but maybe playoffs and that's it, right? Because they can't do anything more. And right now looking at NiP, I don't see anything that can push them into these semis constantly, right? If you get constantly into semis, that means that you're doing something really good, right? If you get sometimes, like you said, 9th or 6th to 8th or something, what does it mean? You're just a placeholder in the playoffs and an easy run for somebody else to get into the semis. Teams like G2, teams like Heroic, teams like Vitality, FaZe, or whoever, you know. And I do agree. I don't know what their next move is. Are they happy with what they have right now in terms of, you know, organization? Because players, I imagine they are not happy whatsoever, because NiP, I believe they think they are some sort of, you know, legendary organization based on the 10 years ago or whatever, but they are really not. And now they are facing a lot of problems. I don't know what future going to bring for them in CS2, but this lineup is not going to get there because they obviously expect titles and the former glory, right? But it's not going to happen at all. Now, yeah, go.
Yeah. Well, I kind of had a direction NiP could go based on my other hot take, so I'll just kind of combine it. Basically, it's all like weird that we're focusing so much on NiP, but to me, they were one of the more interesting storylines of this most recent ESL Pro League group. And one is that with them, I would actually just switch. So to get Brolin back into form, I would switch back to Swedish. I would keep Rez, Hampus, and Brolin, and then I would just try to find the 2 best Swedish players right now, and I think they're perfect. I think they're perfect for this team. I think that they wouldn't necessarily actually. Again, the question is, would they become a championship roster with this? No, but they would actually retain the identity of being Sweden's best team, which in its sense does seem to provide some value in terms of fandom, and just also would probably actually raise.
Sorry, Maui, but who? Tell me, who do they?
So
bring?
the best Swedish player right now, and this was my other hot take, is NOK. NOK is the best Swedish player right now, and so if you were able to get him from Apex, then you would be already a better team. We saw what NOK was able to do with NiP before. Like, again, it's not a championship roster, but you're not making a championship roster with this core. There's no way to keep 3 of these players and make a championship roster. It's just not possible. So if you're at least going to try to find an angle to make you a little bit better, and you're finding an angle that's going to actually make you Swedish, to me, then I would get 1 NOK, and 2, I would get Isaac from Gamer Legion, because Isaac is like the exact kind of player you're looking for this team, where you're trying to get an anchor player who doesn't need any resources, is just going to do a good job on those extremity positions. And then you would have Brolin playing better because he'd be speaking in Swedish again. You would have Hampus and Rez hopefully just slightly getting better because they'll switch to Swedish 2 again. But I think that to me would make NiP at least a more exciting lineup, and it would probably actually lift their ranking by just a handful of points.
All right, I'll give you this one. That lineup of NiP would beat this lineup of NiP. I think it would improve them a little bit. I'm not happy with your choices, but I do agree with the fact that it would make them better, especially more like a unit rather than this like just every man for himself kind of thing, because he does look like that. Like, they don't look like a team whatsoever. Maybe bringing back the identity will spark something. NOK, personally, when I spoke to Jacob, he said super highly, like super positive things about him. Like, he's insane, he's this and that. Like, he really did. And, I tend to believe Jacob because he's a player that's not going to bullshit you. So that's how I kind of agree on that one. But I haven't seen as much that can, impress me or.
By the way, Kassan, here's an obvious one I could point out. You could just have Jacob in that lineup. He can speak Swedish too.
No, I don't think he can.
He's Norwegian, mate. It's basically the same shit as far as I know. The problem, as far as I know, is if the Swedes understand them or something like that. They can speak Swedish. Right. As far as I know, Norwegian's the same as Danish, but they just speak Swedish, well, like it's a language they speak in school or whatever. I believe he could. I might be wrong on that. Could be wrong. I know Rain in the past.
Maybe you're right, but maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Anyway, the
just
Jacob's contract. Jacob's contract is out at the end of the year, so you never know.
All right.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.